Hello, this is Emily. Hope everybody is doing well today. This afternoon we're having a lot of storms. We're getting a hurricane. So we're battening down the hatches. But right now the sun's shining, so what are you going to do? Today I am working on utilizing ribbon and lace that's in my stash to work on these flowers. And it's a work in progress. I'm learning. And I'm also using, hoping to use doilies that I have had over the years that maybe I can work with as far as making maybe some smaller flowers that might go into book pages or on the cover of some journals. So that we're working on that, and then I am also working on taking bigger doilies and cutting them down to or lace, pieces of lace. Here's some lace that I cut. This was a table runner. This was a part of the table runner as well. So as you can see, I'm using different, and then these are some small doilies. So over the years, these have been passed on to me, and I have been wondering what I could do with all these table runners, and now I have figured out how to cut them up and use them in various ways. Also, even something as small as this. So here we go. We're going to get started. Like I say, this is a learning process. But what I have done is I have taken, these are examples of some ribbon that I have acquired. I come from a big family and I get a lot of people's leftovers. And things that people don't want anymore. So this right here is an example of a wide ribbon that actually I got this at the junk store, the scrap thrift shop. I'm planning to cut this in half and then use the wired part to maybe make some pleats. And that would look something like this. So I would probably still need to run a line of stitching along here. And since I'm running lines of stitching, I am not really working with really long pieces of ribbon in case because I'm running a basting stitch along here. Using a really large stitch on my brother. I'm using a size 4 in length, and that way I can draw it up, but either I can or do the pleating if it has wire, and then I would join these together and make a flower. So that's something that well, actually right here is an example of one that I made that has this music on it. And I actually put a doily underneath that, and I used my hot glue gun and put some lace on it, and then I used a small doily, and then I was recently been given a whole jewelry box full of Sarah Coventry jewelry. I took the earring backings off and am able to use them as the centers if if it works, and so forth and so on. So this is how I am working this. Here's an example of a purple one that I showed you a minute ago. And this one, this ribbon did not have any wire on it. And this ribbon does. So I was able to pleat this together and run a piece of, and roll it around the flower to make it fairly, just a ribbon flower. I didn't put any lace on this. So that's another example. And this is a simpler one where I used cheesecloth and an earring. And this is one where I used all lace and an earring. So this gives you an example. What I'm currently working on, and I probably won't finish it during this video, is a big flower that I think I will put as the centerpiece on a wreath for the inside of the house. Eventually, maybe I could actually make one for the outside of the front door of my house. I don't know if this lace would hold up, through the storm door. I would have to, experiment with it. But what this is I took a really thin piece of, I don't know, voile. Is that what you call this? And then I had this kind of partial gold, and so I kind of went with a gold theme by putting, this is an example of that. It really is fraying badly. But what you do is you pull on the string, and it ends up, when you pull it, turning it, kind of turns into a circle. And what I did for most of these is I took a straight pin. Let me find my pin cushion. And for the one side, I put a straight pin, and then I did the figure 8 wind around here so that I would be assured that it would not come loose and that it would hold while I was running the stitch, that it wouldn't run out and it would run right up into it. But that's how I did this. For this particular one, I used just a plain white piece of lace. But this is a great way to use lace. So what I did was I started with my I did glue it. I started with the backing and I circled that around. I hot glue gunned this, although I could have stitched it. And then on the other side, where the figure 8 stitch was, I actually put a piece of, I let the hot glue gun sit on that, and then I'm actually taking some lace and laying it on here. And probably what I'll do is probably go to the sewing machine and sew these two sides together. You don't want, I didn't want to work, like I say, with too much of a length, because then that increases your chances of, when you're running the stitch through with the thread, it increases your chances of it breaking, and then you have to start all over again. And then I took this right here and I did some pleating, and on this side I took a paper clip and wound it around and around, and this is the end that I am pleating. So what I'm going to do here to make sure, or not pleating, but I took this and did pleating, but I also did pulling it, like I did that piece of voile just a minute ago. But I tie the piece that's loose in a knot to make sure that it seals and is held, and then I cut off all that excess thread. And then this right here, when you turn it or pull on it, it ends up making a circle on its own. So then this would be excess. But I don't want to cut this, because then all of that would come apart. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hot glue gun and I'm going to fuse it together right around here, so that when I do cut off the excess, I have it sealed. And I take my little lollipop so that my fingers don't get singed and hook it right there. So then now that that is on there nice and secure, I can cut it off and it can go on top here. And then all I need is, there's still threads, you know, in the lace. So then all I need is to figure out which one of these I want to use. And this is a piece of a doily. It might be too big. I want to make sure that I fold this is another example of what I could do, but I'm not sure if I will because it's so, but this turned out to be just as pretty as it could be. But I would still want to put, you know, a small piece of gold something there in the middle, or even a pearl would possibly, a pretty pearl would possibly work for that. But I haven't decided how I'm going to finish that off, whether I'm going to use one of these old earrings or not. But anyway, you get the idea that there's a lot of possibilities. Just a button even would work. So earrings, buttons, gems. Of course, that probably, but you get the idea. So whether I use this or whether I use this, or whether I pick something even smaller than that to use, would depend on, just what looks good or how it, kind of feels when I put it on there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to make one from beginning to end. And right now I'm working on a journal that I could use yellow. And so since I don't have a lot of yellow, I have given myself permission to use whatever yellow I have. So this is a wide hemband type thing. This is hem tape. This is some sort of decor that goes maybe at the bottom of a curtain. And this is just a cute little center. And what I did was this is a kind of a cotton, and I have started putting these together. So I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to join these two to make and fuse that extra piece there, and make this be the foundation or the bottom of the and I'm going to go ahead and put my hot glue gun right along here and pounce it down with my lollipop. This particular piece of fabric really frays a lot as well, but it frays nicely. The thinner that I was talking about, it doesn't, it just really goes crazy fraying. So I think that this is going to be the other side, and what I'm going to do is tie this to make sure that I get it secure before I put the glue on it to extra secure it, and also to cut off some of these threads. So right here I'm going to, and let's see how this one is doing. Yes, this one also needs that same treatment. So I pulled up the thread to where I wanted it to be, And now I am going to tie off the ends. And it is 2 different pieces of lace, but we'll work with it the way it is. Whoops. And this right here is going to be where I finished that one off. And here we go. We've got a circle to work from. So after I cut off some of my threads that are excess, then I will put a backing on it to keep it, and once this dries really good, I can take this bubble pin out. But this would be what I would use for the backing. So what I would want to do would be to make sure that this is the way that I bunch it up, that it makes a nice round sort of flower. So I'm going to put kind of make a circle around here, and then put this on here and bunch it up onto the backing to have a flowerlet form here. Now that's part of the yellow. I also have this piece, which is a ribbon, and I did make it fairly long. On this side, I backstitched it. And so then what I will do is I will start gathering this. And like I say, we do have to be careful in pulling, because this one isn't pulling very well. Let's see if this side, maybe it was the other side. Nope. Usually it's the top piece, the top thread of your sewing machine that makes it work. So what the plan was to bring this around here like this. And in order to get that thread so that it will pull, I need to come in here to the very end and see where it double stitched. And to do that, I would need to, somewhere there was a double stitch made. And so I pull these out, and it looks to me like the double stitch was somewhere in here. So I'm going to keep pulling until I get that, until I loosen up that piece of thread, and then I may have to actually even cut some of this off. So we'll see if that works. That worked. So it wasn't a whole lot that I had to cut off. So you could see that as you're pulling it, and again, we must be gentle with this because it's very easy to want to tug it along, and pull it and tug it so that it's all the way to the other side. And this is a piece of this regular ribbon that I have quite a bit of different ribbons like that I think several different households that were in the family that were disbanded or shut down or sold, and we needed to, there was a death in the family and we needed to clean things out. Now that's one way of getting a lot of odd things. And if you think you might use this, use it, and things are usually divvied up or divided up between family members, and or you stake your claim on what it is that you want to keep, and then leftovers just get taken to recycle. And so But I also am very lucky that I have a nice store here in my local area that sells things like this for, you know, like 50 cents a roll. I think I paid $1 a roll for that music, for the roll, and it wasn't a completely full roll. So just picking things up like that, and when I realized that yellow would be good in this particular journal I'm working on, I started looking around for anything yellow that I had, and came up with these few items: a little bit of hem tape, a little bit of ribbon, and some trim and things of this nature. So I have tied both of the ends off. Again, some people actually take this and use a needle and thread and stitch it, and actually stitch the ends together. This particular piece of ribbon is long enough that I didn't have to join them together, and sometimes it just works out that you end up with just the right amount, and it works for you. So this is one example of how I can take this and work with it. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these two together, and while they're drying, I'm going to decide how I want to put the rest of this flower together. I have this other option here, which is to, and again, now that I've done this, you see that it's become, so I'm going to need to continue to, it was a long piece of ribbon, and so I can continue to make sure that the gathers are even. This particular piece right here, I've already gathered, and it's made into, it's worked. And so what I thought I would do would be to put this on here next. This is about as tight as I can get this one to roll, because it's going through 2 layers of fabric. And so I'll probably, you only work with one of the 2 threads, and then you pull it and gather it, and then tie it off, or take a needle and thread and sew it. And then once I get this the right length that I want it, that the circle goes around the right way, and I can also now, I've done that figure 8 stitch on this side, so I definitely, before I pull out that pin, will want to make sure that I hot glue gun that. And then we'll decide how big we want this to be. And it does sort of want to, roll around twice, which it just adds to the flare. And let me go ahead and cut that off. I can cut that much off. There is a lot of threads in this little piece, in this little project. So, but you can see where it's just another layer of the flower. I could do it this way, actually. And I think that's going to be more in keeping with, this seems to be the right side. So I'm going to move it back so that I'm not completely covering, but I do have some of the yellow hem tape. And then I'm just going to take my, let's see, I think I'll work with it from this direction. I'll come around here and hot glue gun around here. And since I am working with this, and this is dry and it's pulled out, I'm going to actually fold this over to give it a more finished look, and lay it down on there. So the first thing that I'm going to do is fold it over and press it. And then I'm going to put this here like this. And then I can go with this. I'm trying to position it so that this will be here like so. And it doesn't really matter how big that hole is in the middle, because you're going to be covering it with either a doily or with some sort of a this particular piece that I had, with this only piece I had like it, already had a piece of a pearl in it, although I could make it be, you know, take the pearl out and put something else in it. But then, again, this will probably go on the outside of the journal. And there. So we now have our kind of shabby chic. I would probably need to do some sort of finish around here so that it wouldn't completely cut this in a little bit. But the beauty of the hot glue gun is that it will hold things together very nicely and will be a way to keep it nice and secure. So if you have any questions about this little activity, please let me know. I will put my information at the bottom of the description box. Also, there were two videos that I looked at, YouTube's, from people that I thought had really good ideas. And so I will be putting that information in the description box below as well, to give them, to show how they're, and then you can see how their suggestions assisted me. I added the twist of, instead of hand sewing the pleats or the gathers, you know, of machine sewing it with a basting stitch, and that way coming up with a way to make, you know, gather together and make the flowers. So thank you for coming along with me on this journey of this making these flowers. I plan to come in and learn how to do some of these types of flowers in smaller, flatter, so that they can go on book pages in journals. But let me know what you think, and thanks again for coming along, and we'll talk again soon.